might blink out for a second.
Okay, Vanessa, let us know when we're live streaming.
We're live streaming.
Might blink
Okay.
out for a second.
I'm going to jump back over. We're going to start the recording. We're going to let in all of our guests. Okay, Al, talk about 1 minute and the meeting will begin.
Thanks, Kirsten. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this month's Oregon Country Fair Board of Directors meeting. My name is Al. I'll be your facilitator. It is May 1st, 2023, 7 p.m., and I will begin, as with all meetings, with the Singing Bowl. Are there any announcements to start off this meeting? I see a hand here from Sue.
I want to remind people that currently the Pacific Northwest is in a rather dire blood donor shortage. If you are able to donate blood, please do. You will help save a life. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Sue. My appointment's tomorrow. Norma?
Yes, I want to remind everybody that the Spring Fling is this Saturday, May 6th at the Well Hall, starting at 6:30. And we have an amazing array of prizes for the raffle that benefits Culture Jam once again. And we're going to do it a little differently this time. We're going to do baskets of goodies. So you'll have probably about 12 chances to win a basket full of amazing stuff that people have been so generous in donating. And we're also going to have a silent auction for some of the items. So please come and have fun and dance to High Tolerance. And we will see you Saturday.
Sounds good. Thanks, Norma. Spring Fling, May 6th. Any other announcements? All right. That will move us on to...
Sorry, I can't get my hand up fast enough.
Hi, AJ.
Hi. I had a quick announcement. I just want to... Mr. Belafonte passed away recently, and I want to acknowledge his contribution to civil rights. I want to acknowledge his contribution to the to music and the arts. And we would not be where we are today had it not been for folks like him. So rest in peace, my friend. Thank you.
Thank you, AJ. Arna?
I do have an announcement, but I'm unprepared. So I'm going to get myself prepared, and we're going to have to come back to me later for this announcement. I'm sorry.
Okay. That's fine.
I'm normally more prepared, but I will get it up.
Anne?
I just want to announce the elders are having their retreat on Saturday, the 6th from 10 to 5, and it's a potluck lunch. Thank you.
All right. Okay, well, let's hold a moment of silence for Mr. Belafonte. I quite agree with everything AJ said. Thanks, everyone. Arnie, still need more time?
Yeah, I still need some more time.
Okay.
Maybe we'll just come back to me after like agenda review or something.
Sure. Happy to. So the next step is approval of the minutes from our last meeting.
You do have a couple
Al?
more hands in the chat.
Oh, sorry. Thank you. It looks like there's a hand from Anne. And then Anne probably did hers.
I did mine.
Norma, do you have another announcement?
I do. I'm really sorry to say that a long time fair booth participant passed away last week, Paul Fuller from the Divine Balance salad booth that's next to main stage. He's gone. His family is very, very excited. Well, not excited, but they're definitely going to keep the booth going. So we'll still be able to get our lovely salads, but not from Paul anymore, I'm sorry to say.
Thanks, Norma. And Chris? Are you there, Chris?
I'm trying to, okay, there we go. I had an opportunity to meet Harry Belafonte here in Eugene and have a conversation with him. It was remarkable that when I was 10, I used to walk around the house singing his songs. And now that I'm 40, I'm still wandering around my living room singing his songs. And he was a very important person to me in my life.
Thanks, Chris. I appreciate the story. All right, Arna.
I'm ready. Sorry for that delay. I'm happy to announce the recipients of the Jill Hyman Vision Fund for this year. I just needed to get all my notes there. We have chosen 4 recipients. The first is Centro Latino Americano to support its Leaders project in the Organic Community Garden Program. The projects are they work for projects and workshops ranging from seed saving to basket making. We're also supporting community-supported shelters to install gray water filtration systems in their safe spot communities. This will save them from having to truck fresh water in and gray water out. The third one is Looking Glass to purchase tools and gear used by the Lane Metro Youth Corps for projects that restore Lane County natural resources. And the fourth is Northwest Center for Alternatives to Pesticides to boost awareness of pesticide issues in our community through social media and radio. We're happy to have such four such great agencies to donate the money to. And we look forward to really raising a lot of money for them. Thanks.
Excellent. Thanks, Arna. All right, I don't see any more hands. I'd like to hold a moment of silence for Paul as well. And now coming back to our agenda, the first step is approving the minutes from last meeting.
I move that we approve the minutes from our April meeting.
I
Thank
second.
you.
I
Thank you,
second
Tom.
that. There are two sets of minutes for approval, the regular board meeting and the work session, FYI. Thank
I
you.
move that we approve the minutes from the April 17th work session.
I second that.
Okay, two motions up for approval. First is approving the minutes from April's Board of Directors meeting. I see a hand from John.
So the minutes are a legal document recording what transpired at the meeting. The minutes as written has details about the committee reports. Those reports were not talked about at the meeting. There were no verbal reports. There were only written reports. I question whether we should be including within the body of the minutes information that was not presented at the meeting, because it does not reflect what actually occurred at the meeting. I think if we're going to do summaries of the written committee reports, they ought to be separate from the minutes and perhaps attached as an addendum, or someone can, but I don't think they should be included in the minutes, because this information was not presented at the meeting. It does not reflect what actually occurred, and these are legal documents that are supposed to reflect what actually occurred during the meeting.
Thanks, John. I see a hand from John next.
Yeah, thanks, John. I've been thinking about that, and on other boards that I've been on, there's a motion to accept the minutes submitted from all committees. And I think if we started doing that as a part of the just a regular agenda item, then that would take care of that, and that would remind us all to, as board members, to read all of those minutes and approve them so they would get into that official record. And I think, John, that might take care of what you're talking about.
How do you feel about that, John?
If we want to do something like that going forward, perhaps. We're talking about approving these minutes from the last meeting. And at this point, I can't vote to approve them because they reflect stuff that was not in the meeting. And you know, so and yeah, I don't know if we can have a friendly amendment to remove that information and place it at the end of the as an addendum to the minutes. That would be fine with me, and I'd like to make that as a friendly amendment to the maker of the motion.
AJ, I believe you made the motion and your hand is up, so I'll pass it to you.
I won't accept it for this. We've been doing it this way for a few months. I think we can make that change going forward. But for right now, I'd like us to vote on the motion as is.
Does anybody else have any comments, questions, or concerns? John?
I'd like to move to amend the minutes by removing the summary committee reports and attaching them as an addendum rather than being within the body of the minutes.
Okay. We can vote on that amendment. There is a hand here from Hillary.
Yeah, don't we include the committee reports on the website? I'm not sure why they would even have to be an addendum. They're available to the membership.
Yeah, if you wanted to have them, I'm only saying if you want to have them with the minutes, that would be my suggestion, but if there's not a second, then there's no motion, by the way, Al.
Oh, okay.
I'll second.
All right. Thanks, Anne. AJ.
Oh, my hand's up too.
Oh, sorry, Anne.
I just want to say in my board packet, there were meeting summaries from meetings where the board met, where the committee had not approved the minutes yet, according to the information I was provided with. Thank you. So we end up in a funny place if the committee itself has not approved the minutes and they're submitting something to be included. Thank you.
AJ?
Yes, I think it's important for board members to work with staff on these sort of issues. We've had the board packet for a while now, and these are issues that we could, if there were minutes there and you knew there were minutes there that were not approved by a committee, that would have been a time a week ago or a few days ago or before this meeting to let the staff know that that was the fact so they could go and do their jobs. I don't really know why we wait till the meeting to do things like this that can be easily resolved ahead of time. I just don't understand it.
Thanks, AJ. Anne?
In one case, I spoke to a member of the committee who told me, oh, Ann, don't worry about these minutes because they aren't approved and they will be approved at our next meeting. And that is why I'm bringing it up now, because it was in our board packet and I figured it was just an awareness thing. And so that's why I seconded John's motion, was to remove that one specifically. Thank you.
Arna?
Well, perhaps if a committee's minutes aren't okay to be putting into our packet, the board liaison for that committee should be writing us a report of what happened, so that we are staying on top of what's going on in our committees. Because if we're not getting any information from either a liaison or through the minutes of a committee, then we are not really supervising a committee because we don't know what's happening. You know, we can't go to all of the meetings. So I would recommend, if a board member knows that the committee's minutes aren't accurate, that the liaison should then be writing us a report.
Thanks. AJ?
Also, minutes that are submitted are supposed to be approved minutes that are submitted. So I don't understand why a committee or a liaison will allow minutes to be submitted that are not approved.
Point of order.
Is it from
Al, the motion is to amend the minutes. The motion is not to discuss how to deal with this issue. So.
You're right. Are there any further hands? Are people ready to vote on this?
I did raise my hand to comment too.
Go ahead. I follow the chat, John, so I don't know.
I did put it in chat. You must not have seen it. I did raise this question with the recording secretary and giving my feedback to the recording secretary about the minutes. And the response I got was that he was going to leave it in and it'd be up to the board to decide whether they should stay in or out. So I did bring this to the recording secretary's attention prior to the meeting as soon as I received the minutes.
Sounds good. All right, seeing no further hands, we will vote on this amendment. Is everybody, the question that is presented is whether or not to remove the meeting minutes from the committees from the official minutes and add them as an addendum. Kevin?
No.
Okay. Arna?
No.
John Silvermoon?
Yes.
Lisa?
Yes.
AJ?
No.
Ann?
Yes.
Paxton? Paxton said he was rebooting earlier. Tom?
No.
Sue?
Yes.
John Alexander?
I'm going to abstain from this.
All right. Sandra?
No.
Paxton, are you with us?
He said he was having computer troubles earlier, so.
I just let him in, so give him just a second to connect.
Hi, Paxton, are you with us? I can see you, but I don't hear you.
How about that?
I can hear you now. Are you aware of the motion?
Is this a vote on the minutes?
This is a vote on the
What's
amendment.
the motion?
Yeah, the amendment is to remove the committee minutes or committee meeting minutes from the official minutes for the board meeting and add them as an addendum.
Yes.
All right. I have 5 yeses, which does not pass. Which moves us back to the approval of the meeting minutes from our April Board of Directors meeting. I'll take votes for that one. Kevin?
Yes.
Tom?
No.
Oh.
Sorry, Tom.
Oh, yes.
John Silvermoon?
No.
Arna?
Yes.
Sue?
Abstain.
Okay. John Alexander?
Yes.
Lisa?
Yes.
AJ?
Yes.
Ann?
Abstain.
Paxton?
I'm going to abstain because I missed the argument. My apologies.
Okay, and Sandra?
Yes.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 yeses, 3 abstentions, and 1 no. You would need 8 for a majority, or for a 2/3 majority.
That passes. The abstentions don't count in the total,
Towards the, okay,
right?
then
So
that
it's,
is approved.
right,
Is there any discussion needed for the work group minutes approval? All right, then I'll take that vote as well. Sandra,
yes,
Paxton,
Yes,
Ann,
Yes.
AJ,
Yes.
Lisa,
Yes.
John Alexander,
Yes.
John Silvermoon.
Because I was unable to attend, I will abstain.
Okay. Sue,
Yes.
Arna,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
and Kevin.
Yes.
That motion passes as well. And that will take us to the agenda. Is there anything to amend here? I believe that there is. Kirsten?
Yes. So I would like to table the Personnel Policies Committee appointment because there is new information to give to the board that was not ready for this board meeting. So AJ and I would like to table it to next month.
Okay.
And we are going to also table George's potential conflict of interest because he's not here and he's too sick to be dealing with issues at this point. So we are going to table that one also.
All right. Can we approve the agenda with the only old business we're going to talk about at this meeting being the bylaws officers with Arna and Kevin?
there's another hand up, Al.
Oh, thanks. So, oh, you mean for Kirsten?
Yeah,
Okay.
Never mind, Arna captured it. I just wanted to ask
Right.
for someone to table that motion, please. Thank you.
Sorry, that's why I skipped it. I assumed it was for George. Can we approve this agenda as it currently stands?
I'll move to approve the agenda as amended.
Second.
Thank you. I don't see any hands, so I'll move to voting here. AJ?
Yes.
Lisa?
Yes.
John Alexander?
Yes.
John Silverman?
Yes,
Arna?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
Ann?
Yes.
Paxton? Paxton?
yes,
Sandra?
yes,
Sue?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
That is approved. Next up is where we open it up for membership comments. There is a hand from John Govsky.
Thanks. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you for your time. I forgive me if this has already been discussed because I've been to a lot of recent board meetings and I've never heard a discussion of this, but I would just like to encourage the board to consider moving to electronic elections rather than mailing out paper ballots in the future. I've worked with several organizations who have done this in the past. I have personally run many of the electronic elections for some of the nonprofits I'm involved in, and we would never go back to paper ballots. It's so significantly more convenient and cheaper. And when I see my booth fees go up, and then I see thousands, what I can only guess would be thousands of dollars spent on paper elections, all those dead trees, all that postage, all the volunteer or staff time necessary to process all that paper. I mean, it seems so unnecessary to me. And these electronic systems, they're very secure. It's mature technology, and they still allow for people who want or need paper ballots to get them in addition. So there's an easy way for people that don't want to do that or don't have an email address to still vote the same way that you always do it. But it just seems like as an organization, I can only think that it costs a couple $1,000s to do an election when you look at all the costs, and it's just so wasteful to me that I don't know why the Oregon Country Fair hasn't thought about moving to electronic voting. Anyway, I think I'll stop there. I appreciate your time. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, John. Anyone else like to speak during membership comment time? AJ?
I have a membership comment. So over the years, I've known that there are groups of folks who come to fair that are living their sober lives, and they meet up and they get together during fair and before fair and after fair to meet with each other and just support each other. And so I would like to encourage whoever's leading those groups to make that be known in time so we could share that at the board level for folks who may be looking to still go to fair but do it in a sober way. And so we can put that at the forefront and let everybody know where they can meet up and things like that.
Thanks, AJ. Sue?
So it's been a year since I've checked the community village schedule, but as far as I remember, there are sober meetings in the village every day at 11 a.m. and 9 p.m. And those have been happening for about 25 years, maybe longer. And I know we need to get the word out more. I do believe they posted in the Fair Family News, but yes, thanks.
Thanks, Sue. Dave?
Hello. John's comment about electronic voting inspired me to make this comment. I've been thinking about it since the recall experience we had a few months ago. I just was pleased to see, however contentious it was, I was pleased to see a format that was not Facebook for us to have exchanges. And I was just wondering, or maybe trying to make a suggestion that maybe it could be looked at again as a productive way for membership to communicate about other topics relevant to the fair that weren't on Facebook. I know it would take moderation and all that, but I'm personally looking for more healthy ways to communicate with Fair Family, and I thought that was a good experience, separate from the actual what the goal was there. But I like that independent format. Thank you.
Thanks, Dave. Any further membership comments? We will move on to the staff report. Kirsten.
Thank you, Al. And thanks everybody for your time this evening. Appreciate it. As you can imagine, the preparations for Fair 2023 are well underway. So I will be telling you all about the fun things that we've been working on. We'll start with the financials though. The 2022 year-end financial statements have been prepared and are ready for the CPA. And we will begin the SVOG audit and the tax filings in August of 2023. Back to the hybrid meetings. We are still waiting on Northwest Youth Corps to open for business before making final recommendation to the board. Likely hybrid meetings won't happen until after the 2023 fair. On the administrative front, the on-site coordinating meeting on April 16th was well attended. Lots of information was exchanged. The next meeting for the coordinators is June 4th, 2023 at 2 p.m. at Alice's Fire Pit. Staff t-shirts will be available for pickup at that date. There will be no fireworks this year on the 4th of July. Next year, with the shift of the event to July 12th through 14th, festivities may return. Ticket sales are on par with previous years. 3-day tickets are sold out, and we are approximately 30% sold out on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. The entertainment lineup, lineup was announced Thursday, April 20th, 2023 via a social media blast. We did see an uptick in ticket sales once we announced our entertainment lineup. As Norma mentioned, the Spring Fling is this Saturday, May 6th at Wow Hall in Eugene, and the doors open at 6 p.m. We have received a large amount of raffle donations, and the raffle is a fundraiser for Culture Jam. You can buy your raffle tickets online with a credit card on the .net site. You will be assigned a raffle number after as we get closer. Credit cards, cash, or checks can be used at the event. An email has been sent or will be sent to all members with a sample of some of the raffle items. We've gotten some items that are worth, upwards of $1,000 individually. So some really, really nice prizes and some very generous donors giving to this fundraiser. The Four Winds database, about 25% of coordinators have not logged into the database. Reminder that the user manual is on the .net site under coordinator information. Please change your password immediately upon logging in the first time. Four Winds will close on June 30th at 11:59 p.m. We did receive another insurance payment for $3,000 for the repairs to the wet barn for a total of $18,000. Our deductible is $1,000. Total cost is approximately $19,000, and the repairs are complete. So thanks to Sierra and her team getting that taken care of. Additionally, 10,000 willow saplings were planted along the banks of the Long Tom River in April, which is really great news for erosion. If all goes well, we hope a minimum of 20% will survive. Please take extra precaution to avoid the saplings. The willows will help with bank erosion and give shade eventually. 2023 contracts, the Honey Buckets contract is done. Ritsana, as you know, is still pending. Whitebird is done. Verizon is going to put in a tower. So that's really great news. So we won't have to wait to the 11th hour to get them to come on board. AT&T and T-Mobile are done. We're still working on rental equipment. I'm currently working on the Dodeca Art Barn and storage contract. LTD, we are getting some more traction and continuing the conversation, so it's not dead yet. And I'm very optimistic that we will get service. It will not be at the same level as years past, but it will be service. So stay tuned. I'll keep you informed as we move forward. First Student is done. That's our worker day shuttles that come from the Valley River Center early in the morning to help the booths with their workers. We're working on the flagging contract. The ATMs are pending. The radio contract is done. The City of Fanita banner permit is done. Life Best Intense is done. Commemorative sales printing is done. Staff t-shirt printing is done. The water hydrant meter rental is pending. Dust control is done. Ice is done. Refrigerated trailers are done. Towing is pending. Lane County Sheriff's is done. And the guidelines are officially in-house. And you can pick them up anytime if you want them. Of course, they will be available during main camp. They will be at Doug's Green. They will be at the registration hut. What was the other place that they were going to be? Hold on, and the Ware Barn, where Norma works. So the printed guidelines are out. That's awesome. Permits, we are still working on our right-of-way permit. And our outdoor assembly permit on Far Side is still pending, and camping and ODOT permits are still pending. All of them are in motion, and we're just working with the entities to finalize them. A note on the emerald ash borer, it has potentially been found in as far south as Salem. A reminder that there is a new guideline that there is no firewood to be brought to the site, and no firewood is to be taken from site. No wooden pallets on site. Contact site employees if you need firewood or a plastic pallet. Please do not bring live edgewood to site, and contact the site manager if you have questions. We do harvest a lot of fallen trees during the year, and so we have firewood to offer. So be sure to contact site employees if you need access to firewood. And that is my report tonight. Thank you so much for your time, everybody.
Thank you, Kirsten. That moves us on to old business, of which we have one agenda item.
Sorry, you got to do the treasurer's report.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, the treasurer's report. Linda, Hillary.
Hi, Al. I'm going to start today.
Wonderful.
And I am going to read something. This is a letter that I sent to the Board of Directors, OCF Board of Directors. This is to inform you of my resignation as co-treasurer of the Oregon Country Fair, effective November 4th, 2023. After much consideration, I decided that it's time for me to step down from my role. I've enjoyed my time serving as co-treasurer along with Hillary Anthony, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to have contributed to the fair in this capacity. However, my other personal and professional commitments have made it increasingly difficult for me to fulfill my responsibilities to the best of my abilities. With the hiring of Kirsten and all of the excellent folks she has added to staff, I feel that the fair now has the expertise, commitment, and support on board to manage and continue improving our organization's financial processes. My hope is that the treasurer role will continue moving towards oversight and governance, and the hands-on work will be done by staff with support from volunteers. There's been so much progress in this area that I feel confident and comfortable resigning at this time. I appreciate the trust that the various boards have placed in me during my tenure, and I'll do everything in my power to ensure a smooth and seamless transition for my successor. OCF and the relationships within it will continue to be an important part of my life, and I look forward to my next role, whatever it may be. So I thank you again for the opportunity and wish you all the best. I also just want to add that it's been a real pleasure working with Hillary. She's smart, dedicated, kind, and just a general joy to be around. So I'm definitely going to miss that.
Thanks, Linda.
Yeah, and I'm going to miss you a lot, Linda. Linda's been a great co-treasurer. She has been in this position during times of huge change. You know, we started changing just how we do the paperwork and how we do the spreadsheets when she first came in. And then there's more changes. There was changes in staffing, and then COVID hit. And meanwhile, Linda is rolling with it, managing the budget process, runs an excellent Zoom meeting, kept our budget committee meetings on a much more productive and civil tone than we've had at times in the past without her. You know, she's just a fun, upbeat, talented person, and has this resilience and this ability to work with organizations through change. And I just can't thank you enough, Linda. It's been really wonderful having you in that position, and hope to see as much of you to come. We can figure out how to do that. And then I've got one other topic. There's a new business item following up on the elders motion from December 21st. And when it's old business next month, I won't be here. I'll be out of town. So I wanted to let you know that I've written to the board some overview of the process that we've been through, and I'll do something to try to get this out a little bit farther. What the board did in December 21 is to ask the budget committee to work with the elders committee on how to increase the elders' age from 55 to 60. And so it's mostly been the co-treasurers and the board liaisons who were taking that on, in particular, Sandra and me, in particular, Sandra. I've gone to a few elders meetings and Sandra has gone to a lot of them. And I really want to thank elders. They grappled with this and handled it responsibly. They did a lot of research on the ages and demographics, and as did we. And we had lots of conversations and considering alternatives and considering ways to do it, considering, why do it. And I hope people are getting an appreciation of why. And it's not just elders. And we've had a lot of talks about capacity with different groups and trying very, very hard not to eliminate any programs, but to adjust a lot of programs in order that we can accommodate, there's just natural growth within elders. And there's places where needs change. The ability to be able to say, let's ease back a little bit on this program in order that we can keep all the programs and adjust to the changes that are coming. So with elders in particular, there's so many issues about demographics and record keeping. And one thing that this has demonstrated is that we need to get good information in a usable form about the ages of our membership and when the elders may graduate. There's the vague expectation when the elders program was started that it will come into balance. People coming into the program will equal out with people leaving the program because of moving or dying or no longer attending the fair. And that's not happening. The elders program has just about doubled in the last 10 years, and the fair's rate of growth has come down to about 1%. So if that continues, the elders as a part of the population of our internal population will go from 6% in 2015 to the 9% it is this year, projected to be. It would become 15% in another 10 years if it stays at that rate, and if the rest of the population stays at its 1% growth rate. So we have a situation where every 4 people who become elders, 7 people join that program, and 4 of them are just leaving positions that then are left open, but there's 3 new positions, there's 3 new people who then can also come to our population. So it's a huge demographic issue to understand how that population is growing. It's the only program that we have that has unlimited growth. So this raising the age is an effort, both to slow the growth a bit, but also to remind people that this program it's trying to keep people who want to be part of the fair, but it's not trying to disproportionately affect our growth. So I'll get that out to you. Thank you for listening. Thank you to the elders so much for really engaging with this. And thank you very much, Sandra, for the determined work that you've done with having those conversations with them. That's it for the report.
Thanks, Hillary. And thanks, Linda. I appreciate all the work you've done here. Sorry, I tried to skip right by it. Now we'll move on to old business. The first and only topic on here right now is bylaws with Arna and Kevin. You're muted, Arna.
Thank you. This was brought up last month, and we tabled it because a couple of members asked for it to be tabled so they could look at it some more. So the motion is, the board moves to direct the bylaws committee to develop the appropriate wording to amend the bylaws to require the president and vice presidents to be duly elected board members.
And we will open that up for discussion. that. No. Kevin, are you?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, here we are, and so for this, it's really about the discussion at hand about, the motion as well as the process. Like I said last time, it's OCF. We do things weird, and I love that. So really, it's about kind of the why of it, and I know we had discussed it last time, and so that's kind of what we're trying to figure out, and maybe it turns into something different. Maybe we start having president, vice president elections. I don't know if that's a thing. Leave it to the members. But I know with board members being duly elected, we'd like to think that it is folks that were elected by the members that should have that opportunity. It could create an opportunity to be able to just pull anyone in and allow folks to work towards that. But again, I'm open to the discussion. So I'm not sold on the whole thing. I'm really just curious. And so let me know. Thanks.
Thanks, Kevin. And just to be clear, you're seconding the motion, right?
I am sorry. I second. Yeah. I thought we were doing discussion. I thought you said discussion.
Oh yeah, I just also wanted to make sure. Thanks. John? Silverman?
Oh, okay, thank you. I still don't see what the problem is that this is addressing. I don't see this being a real issue. And in fact, once again, I think this could cause difficulties for the board. This is just because it constrains and limits the board's options in making a decision about these two officer positions. It's been rare that the board over the history of the entire fair has chosen a non-board member to be an officer in the president or vice president position. And I believe there was always a good reason to have done so when the board decided that that was the option they wanted to adopt. Most all the time, the officers, the president and vice president, are members of the board. So I don't see anything broken that needs to be fixed here. And in fact, I see passing this would be difficult, might create problems in the future. I have no problems with some kind of statement that says, the board strives to appoint, choose a board member as an officer, and that the option of not choosing one is not the first go-to attempt. But if the board's unable to reach agreement or decides that that's a better option. So I'm willing to consider something like that, but a blanket prohibition like this, I don't think is wise, because I don't think it addresses any problem that we have and might create some. So I'm planning on voting no.
Thanks, John. And once again, I'll apologize. My head is a little all over the place today, but I forgot about membership input first here before we have discussion. Thank you, LT, for pointing it out. I will open it up for membership discussion here. LT, you are first. Thank you.
Thanks. Hi. I support this motion. I think it's appropriate that essentially the membership have some hand in what are the executive positions in terms of officers. And as I mentioned to Arna on the side, and I think it would be appropriate for the board to consider it in due course, I think for the same reason that the president and vice president would best be board members, that it ought to be clear that the treasurers and secretaries not be board members by policy in the bylaws. And so I would recommend that the board consider that in due course.
Thanks, LT. Is there any other membership input? All right, we will head back into discussion here. My list currently stands at Anne, then John, then Arna, then AJ, then Sandra, and then Lisa. So we will kick it off with Anne.
I am curious as to why some think that this motion is necessary. I am only aware of 2 times where we've had either a president or vice president who was not an elected member of the board, and in the early 1990s, when the president was not reelected, he became a co-president with the president who was elected. And I think it was 2018 or 2019, we also had a co-vice president. And what has cemented my ideas is, as a liaison to the bylaws committee, I've never read them in such detail. And I will say, the bylaws committee has worked on choosing every single word that we presented in that special meeting. And I realized that we were very lucky during the COVID closures that we had 3 healthcare professionals on the board who understood the culture of the fair and various aspects of the fair, ranging from public health needs or community-based health to more formal hospital settings. And these people were able to bring into, I wasn't part of the board, and I make the assumption that these were people were able to bring in ideas that were compatible with the culture of the Oregon Country Fair, where if the board had not had a single healthcare professional in a board position, they probably would have had to go out to a consultant or something like that, who would not necessarily understand how the organization worked, the nature of pre-fair, the nature of fair, the nature of post-fair. So I look at this, that there are situations where we may need this, and I don't think we should close the door on it. And lastly, I think we should completely finish our revision of the bylaws with the Oregon revised statutes and before we attempt anything else. Thank you.
Thanks, Anne. John Alexander?
Yeah, thank you. Just want to acknowledge that that work session on the bylaws was so well done and so well presented. So thanks so much to that committee for the work. I'm not going to repeat what LT said. I think that one of the reasons I'm feel so honored to be a board member is that we were elected by our amazing membership and engaged membership, and whether they're engaged in the board or whether they're engaged in putting on the fair, which we all are as members in such a wonderful way. I think it's important that that kind of decision about leadership stay with the membership. With that said, I want to ask a question and clarify, because I think this did come out of the NAO recommendations, but board members can be elected without being members of the Oregon Country Fair. Is that correct? And I think that way we can get that outside professional perspective, maybe that might be something we really think about. And that might be where we draw our attention to providing different perspectives on the board and whatnot. So I just want to make sure that that's clear, that that is the case, that you don't have to be a member to be elected to the board, and that was a recommendation by NAO. And I think that does relate somehow to this. So thanks, bylaws committee. Thanks.
I'll look that up, John, real quick.
Thank you. Next up is Arna.
I think I'll pass for right now.
All right. AJ?
I think there comes a time where I hope there is a time where this board and the leaders on this in this organization will honor our membership and be honest and truthful with them. I think anybody watching the last couple of years, even the last decade or so, can look at how we vote on the president and vice president and see that it has been a contentious and it has divided the leaders of this organization and the board in such a way that I believe it is responsible for some of the things and the dysfunction that you see right now. I think that, for example, when I started my, I will say again, when I started on the board, I was voted as vice president. And the reasoning that board members used for electing a co-vice president, along with me, that was not elected, that had just lost an election, was that they did not think that I was experienced enough or that I had the ability to represent the organization as a vice president by myself. It was the beginning of what I felt was some of the harshest racist things that I've experienced in this organization, where I was asked for my resume when no one else was asked for their resume. I compromised and I compromised and I compromised because I thought in the best interest of this organization, I wanted us to get past where we were. But it was hurtful. And I think my point is that electing a person that has not been elected by a membership to serve as a president and vice president of the organization has been used as a weapon, in my opinion. A weapon that gives the board an out not to sit in the room and negotiate and figure it out between the 12 elected board members. It takes away the vote of the membership to have representation of the people they elected or they voted for. So I just want to put that out there. This idea that it's somehow we might need a doctor, we might need a pilot someday, so we need to leave this open for the board to elect somebody that wasn't elected by the membership because we might need the advice of a pilot someday. That's just hogwash to me. If people in this organization that have expertise in different fields decide that they won't help or serve this organization when it needs them because they're not an elected board member, what does that say about this organization? We just went through this. Do you have to be a board member in order to help us get through a difficult time or lend your advice? That's all.
Thanks, AJ. Sandra?
Yes, thank you. I do think this is a motion that makes a lot of sense. When I first understood through, reading the bylaws that you could have unelected president and vice president, I was pretty surprised. And, a number of boards that I've been on over time, and I didn't even know that was a possibility, actually. And it's Oregon state law. I think but I don't think it makes any sense. I think that, somebody who's leading your organization should be elected by the membership. They should be accountable to the membership. And I think it just makes sense. In terms of needing expert advice on some things, you can have experts appear on the board with the board and to provide whatever kind of expert advice. I don't understand how that really relates to having unelected president and vice president, but but you can have all kinds of experts, and we do, who come and present to us different times. So anyway, I think it's a good motion. I support it. I think it's time for us to be, to continue to be accountable to the membership. So thank you for bringing this.
Thanks, Sandra. Lisa?
Yeah, so first I did look up that bylaw, John. You might have had a chance to do that in the meantime, but qualifications for directors, any member of the fair in good standing pursuant to Article 5, Section 2A, and who is at least 18 years of age is eligible to serve on the board of directors. So it would appear that, yes, you do have to be a member to serve on the board. As far as this particular motion, I was prepared to vote yes on it when it came before the board last month, because I agree with it in concept. I was elected by the board as a co-vice president in 2020 when I had not been reelected to the board. I was elected as a co-vice president because there was a deadlock. The board could not decide. And so it was a compromise that was reached. I am hearing my fellow directors who are expressing concerns about that situation. And because it has happened several times. So what I'm wondering is if we could look at this and maybe consider adding a clause that would allow the board to look outside the board, but only as a last resort and under very specific conditions. Because I agree that we ought to be able to work cooperatively and make a decision. And I don't want us to look outside of the board just at the first sign of trouble, oh, we're not going to be able to decide. We need to go look outside the board. It should be absolutely a last resort. On the other hand, I have participated in 5 board retreats, and those sessions where we are selecting officers tend to be very time consuming. And when we cannot reach an agreement, it can go on and on and on. And none of us has time to stay until an agreement is reached. We have jobs, we have families, we have lives, we're volunteers too. So I can't really dismiss that concern that some of my fellow directors are raising. I do agree with this amendment though, and this motion. Even though I benefited from the current bylaw in the past. As far as, thank you, Anne, for bringing up my healthcare perspective. I actually did author the current COVID policy that George brought before the board and that we passed. And I think that it was, it was because of my my line of work that I was able to come up with the language for that. But it's true, I didn't need to be on the board for that to happen. It just so happens that that I was heard because I was right there. At any rate, that is what I would like to ask of the makers of this motion. If you would consider a friendly amendment to add a clause, an emergency last resort clause that would allow the board to look outside. Oh, and also, I'm wondering if we could go ahead and add in Lawrence's suggestion that the secretaries and treasurer should not be board members.
If you're asking, this is going to be, Kevin and I both would have to agree to this. I don't agree. I would like to think about Lawrence's suggestion about the treasurer and the secretary and discuss it more. Because I'm really not ready on that one. I really have to think more about the implications of that. Although I think I totally agree with him that those positions shouldn't be from the elected board because of the skill set required. But adding an amendment for in an emergency, such as that, I'm really uncomfortable with that because I'm not quite sure when that would apply. And I do feel strongly that the president and vice president should be elected members of the board. They, more than anybody, represent the membership. And in terms of the public, the president is who goes out and represents the fair to the public. And I think to represent the membership, they should be elected by the membership. And I think it's an incredibly sad commentary to say that the board can just not agree on choosing someone, that we cannot compromise to the point of agreeing on an individual to be our president or to be our vice president. And it's really a question of compromising and working together. And, I just find it, sad to say we have to put in our bylaws an escape clause for when we're so dysfunctional that we can't work together. I don't want to put that kind of escape clause in it. I want to assume good intentions on the part of our boards that we can, come together and make decisions. That's important to me, and, I actually would really, part of it is, I think, redoing how we do our retreats so that they're not quite so exhausting. And so that we're not doing this when we're already really exhausted. It might work better, but that's sort of another matter. But at this point, I don't think that I want to accept that amendment, but Kevin might be able to talk me into it as the other part of this motion. If he wanted to accept this, he has a say here too.
Yeah, I know, Arno, unfortunately, I won't be here to sell you on it. I think that I agree with what you're saying. While the idea of an escape clause might feel like it makes sense, it's still there to be used. And so I definitely find that sometimes if it's not an option, then it's not an option and we have to find a way. And I think there's a lot of value in that. And as well as it sets a precedent for oncoming board members, for folks that are going to join, that says, you are coming to work with other folks and we're here to cooperate. We're here to make it happen. And I think that's a good thing. I think it's not a bad thing. I think it, really can kind of change the attitude and pace of things. We want to attract people to the board. We want to get more folks jumping in here and creating a good environment of, that of positivity, and even in the face of disagreement, is really, I think, where it's at. And so, yeah, everything I said, but sorry, Lisa, I think it's best, like I said, if we, have a way for that. So thanks.
Thanks for your direct response to Lisa about that possible friendly amendment. Arna, did you have anything else you wanted to add? You're next in the stack.
No, I think I just sort of said it all. Well, yes, I will. I do think that that point about having experts on our board, we don't choose our board by having experts on it. Some organizations do. They look for the lawyer and the what medical expert or whatever it is. That's how they choose their boards, and those are boards that are chosen, not elected by memberships. That's, our boards are elected by memberships, by the membership, and we get who we get, we get us. And that's the way we do it. And as Sandra said, if we need expert advice in something, we bring in experts. And I think that has worked well for the board and will continue to work well for us. So I think, let me see, I think, and, although we've only had it happen a couple of times where we've had non-board members be officers, I don't want it to happen again. So that's my opinion on it. So thank you.
Thanks, Arna. Paxton, you are next.
And I have no problem with it all. I've been on the board for a long time, and in general, the president and the vice presidents are board members. I expect that to happen. The times that it happened has been essential, in my opinion, from what I've seen. I think this is fine the way the bylaws are fine the way it is. I don't think we need to change it. I like keeping the option open of having it. I do not view it as an escape clause. It's part of the bylaws, the way they're functioning now. And I think that's fine. Thank you.
Thanks, Paxton. John Silvermoon.
Well, you missed me. I'm sorry.
Sorry, Sue. I didn't mean to miss you. Go ahead. I'll try to find where you were at in there.
I'm way up there. There was a lot of chat in chat. My concern with this has absolutely nothing to do with perceived dysfunction. As any board member can tell you, sitting on the board is a big job. I can only am president. And because of that, I am concerned that there may sometime in the future come a board where either no one feels fully qualified to take on the job, or no one has the immense amount of time that it takes to fulfill the job well. And therefore, unless there is this escape clause, I can't support the motion. I don't want to tie up a board and force. It would feel like a hostage situation to me if we got to a point where no one was ready to step in the role. That's all. I think it works well now. It has been a very rare thing where we've had an unelected person in any of those roles. I don't think it's something that we really need to worry about.
Thanks, Sue. Sorry I missed you there. John Silvermoon?
Yeah, I think the example in terms of when the board selected Lisa as a vice president, even though her term had just expired and she wasn't reelected, was a result of the board. I was not on the board then, but was the result of the board sitting down and trying to come up with a compromise that would get adequate votes. So I think Arna, the board did compromise in that situation. I do think that this takes it away. That said, would the makers of the motion be willing to consider an amendment that asks the bylaws committee to come back with two different options? One exactly as it's currently stated, and one that takes in that presents an option that takes into consideration the concerns that some of us have raised about needing some more flexibility, so that we can at least see how that would look, and each one of us can then look at that and decide which we can have some discussion which might be the best. I'm not saying that that's what the board would commit to voting on, but at least having the bylaws committee present another option. Would you consider that? Because that would get my vote. But at this point, I'm a no vote.
Arna, Kevin, do you have thoughts on that?
Yeah, I don't quite understand. So you're asking for the bylaws committee to basically do the wording for this option, which you've already said you're against. So I don't understand why coming back with the wording for this option would change anything. And then for another option, which does what you want, which you can then vote for. But it's not the option that I can vote for. So I don't understand what the point of that would be.
May I respond?
Yeah, Greg, respond. Go ahead.
First off, I'm counting. I'm not sure the motion as currently stands would pass. Doing this the committee would come up with the language for the option that you favor and language for option I favor. And maybe when you see that language and we have an opportunity to talk about it, maybe I can, we would talk about compromise. Maybe we can talk about a compromise here. Maybe we can't. But at this point, I don't think this motion is going to pass, and you're going to get nothing from the committee. So that's my suggestion to you, so you can get something from the committee. It's going to be whatever the board votes when the language comes before the board. That's going to be the ultimate vote, that language. So this is not committing the board to one or the other. It's asking to see both options.
Right, but John, are you saying that when you see both options, you might change your mind and choose my option?
I might change my mind, or there might be something in between that comes up as a result of the committee coming up with language. I don't know.
I don't accept the amendment.
That's fine.
Thank you. Sandra, you're next.
Yeah, I don't, I think a better option, if we're afraid of being able to, I'm going to definitely vote for this amendment, for this policy. I think it's good policy. I think it's really good policy in a membership organization, which happens to be what we are, and it's special. We're accountable to the membership. The membership has direct, direct highway into us and talking about what they need and what they want, and we represent them, and we represent the organization and do what's best for the organization. And I think if there's a problem in electing president, we should go and, if that does become a problem, I think we should go, people should run for president. We have direct election of president and vice presidents, and then have have the membership make that decision. If it's just too difficult for us, then which I hope that we're obligated to elect a president and vice presidents, especially the president. So I wouldn't vote for some kind of hybrid option that would go to the bylaws committee and come back with exactly, I don't know, that just, I'm glad you didn't accept that one. I don't think that is at all what we're talking about here. anyway, I hope that we do pass this. I think it's good. I think it's good business for us. I think it represents, I think it's the way that we need to handle ourselves. I think they do need to be elected, and yeah, so thank you.
Thanks, Sandra. Next up is Anne.
I just want to add to what I said before, and also to borrow from what I think Spirit said at the last meeting when we first discussed this, and that is unintended consequences. And that's basically what I was trying to address. And it's not about not agreeing, it's closing out options. And as for what the membership wants, I received nothing in terms of membership input on this motion. If any of you did, maybe you can share it now because nobody contacted me. Thank you.
Thank you. AJ?
I call the question.
Sounds good. The question's been called. We will now vote. Kevin?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Arna?
Yes.
Sue?
No.
John Silvermoon?
No.
John Alexander?
Yes.
Lisa?
Yes.
AJ?
Yes.
Anne?
No.
Paxton?
No.
Sandra?
Yes.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You still need 8 to pass with 11 members present. So that motion does not pass.
Mhm.
With old business out of the way, that takes us to, I can review new business here. There's committee best practices work group, manual revision recommendations coming up next meeting. There is, as Hillary mentioned, the elders eligibility work group recommendation, as well as the stuff that was put off from, tabled from this meeting, personnel policies committee appointment, and potential conflict of interest with George, I believe. And Kirsten, I see your hand.
Yes, thank you, Al. I neglected to record the fact that there will be another board work session on Monday, May 15th from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. The topic is board code of conduct. If the board agrees to that, we will send out and post an agenda for that. It's been on the calendar, but the topic has not been settled on, but it has been put forth. So I just wanted to remind everybody that we did have a board work session scheduled for May 15th, Monday, May 15th, 7 to 9 p.m. And the topic that has been brought forward is board code of conduct. Thank you.
Thank you, Kirsten. Next, John, do you have something to add to the new business section?
Well, I have a question on the work session.
Okay.
Are we making a decision to have that be the topic of the work session? And if so, I would like to comment on that before we make that decision.
Kirsten,
Yeah, it is up to the board to set the topic. That topic has been floated, and that's why I bring it forth. It did not make it onto the agenda because I did not remember that we had a May 15th meeting. It has been requested that we use that meeting time for board code of conduct. So the board needs to decide what that work session is going to be, or if that work session is even going to happen. Thank you.
All right, then it sounds like a discussion. John?
So, my understanding, there is a subgroup of the board that is supposed to have been meeting and working and discussing about a board code of conduct. I have seen nothing from the subgroup, and have had no communications from this subgroup about the things they're discussing or any potential drafts. I think it would be premature to have a work session without some communication and a little bit more groundwork. I think so I just think it's premature to have that without having some more information shared before the work session, and an opportunity to give feedback direct to the work group on what they share.
Thanks, John. Alexander is next, and then Arna.
I'm trying to remember what we've called this. Arna might be able to help me because we're calling it
The values and behaviors or
something about, it's not, we already have a code of conduct, so we've called it something like
Right.
agreements, that we make as board of directors. So yes, Tom appointed Paxton, Arna, and myself, and Tom's participated some too in drafting this. And our idea was to get this on the as a work meeting, and then to go through it with the board of directors kind of statement by statement, and just get the feel for people on where we stand on certain aspects of this or others. And Arna and Paxton and I have done I think a really good job in looking at things that we kind of all agreed with, but then also highlighting things that maybe we didn't agree with, so we could direct conversation to some of the things that might be an obstacle for this document. So John, I think that was our idea, was to present something to the board that we've worked on, and have a discussion about it. And whether or not we were going to send a draft out before that, I'm sure we certainly could, but I think that would avoid a potential long string of emails and things about that. Instead, we could dialogue about this. So our idea it was just to give everybody a first draft of it and see how people felt about it, and let the membership learn more about our process and the board's discussion about that as well.
Thanks. Arna, do you have anything to add to that?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's pretty close. It's not finished. This product is not a finished product that we will be presenting. And we thought that we would actually present it, it's pretty far along, but it still needs work. And we thought that we would actually present it this way because we wanted to get everybody's input on it. And then we could go back to work on it. And so that's what as John says, it's really putting it out there for discussion and input from the board and from the membership too, because I think they have a right to have some input in how the board's behaviors and values and what we want to be doing and how we want to how we're going to conduct ourselves. So you haven't gotten anything yet. I have the feeling Kirsten's going to say that she wants this draft in her hands by the 9th so that she can send it out before the meeting. And we will do that because she doesn't want anything to go, she wants to have that paperwork. Am I correct here, Kirsten? So, you will get to see it in advance. But, as I say, it's not a finished product. We're going to all work on it together in this meeting. And that's what we wanted.
Thanks. Kirsten, do you want to add anything to that speculation?
No, the board packet for that meeting would go out on May 10th. It would have an agenda and all supporting documents that the board would use for the work session. So that would be your first view of the work that they have done. Thank you.
John, do you still have concerns about this topic? John?
Me, John.
Yes.
Okay, I wasn't sure which one, John, you were referring to. I mean, if the board wants to do it, that's fine. I would have preferred to have had more communication from the subgroup before we got to this point. Haven't, so be it. If the rest of the board wants to go forward with the work session, I'm not going to say no.
Okay. Does anyone else have any concerns about this topic? Hello, I see a hand from Anne.
I just want to say, I really appreciate the idea of having, as John Alexander said, of having some kind of document that as a group, we would be able to work on, reach maybe a very final draft or something like that, which is what I would hope the intent would be. I really like collaborative projects. I think you get more work. Think you get more positive benefits out of them when they're collaborative and everybody's included. This goes back to the decision that on changing the age of the elders. Sandra worked and the elders worked on a very collaborative project. And so I hope that this will work out the same. Thank you.
Thanks, Anne. Paxton, I see your hand.
I also consider this a project in process. We've got a rough draft. I personally think it's too wordy, but that's where we can get to talk about it at a work session. It's, I think, an extension of our board working assemblies that Lily tried to, actually Lily did start. And I think this is an opportunity for us to get together to work on a particular document and see. It's fairly well organized, and with we've got areas of disagreement that we want to propose, for discussion. We're to the point of needing a larger group than just 3 people to really work on this. So I'm looking forward to a working assembly on it. Thank you.
Thanks, Paxton. If there are no concerns, I will assume it's okay to go forth with that topic on May 15th. Put it down in ink, Kirsten. Next up is the meeting evaluation, last round for the good of the peach. Please go easy on me. I've got a lot going on in my personal life, and I'm sorry that I was so all over the place today. Danny.
I'm sorry, Al, I think you did a good job. I think that the conducting of the meeting could be a little better if the tools that Zoom offered were used. Like raising of hands and letting people chat, and a lot of people, so many, it just brings up so many things for me around the fair. We need to move into the future. John's comment about voting, online, using the tools that are out there to us. I just don't understand why we don't do that. So that's my comment about the meeting. I think you do a great job, Al, with the constraints and history and personalities and egos and, everything that's involved. I just want to say one thing. I'm very disappointed in the vote. To not change. I believe that the president and the vice president should be elected by the membership. Me. I think that it's a loophole that needs to go away. And I appreciate Arna bringing that forward. And I hope that someone brings it forward again. Thank you.
Thank you. And again, I believe that meeting evaluation is just where we talk about how the meeting went and don't delve into particulars about what was discussed here. No, you're fine. I just, before this continues and spirals, I just want to remind everybody we're not here to talk about how voting went. Next up is AJ. AJ? All right, I'm going to move on. I can come back to you, AJ.
He's no longer in the meeting, just FYI.
Okay. LT?
Yeah, hi, Al. First of all, I wanted to apologize to you for the misuse of the meeting chat. I forgot the rule. I had raised what I thought was an appropriate suggestion for a point of order, and it ended up with a dialogue with another member about that. So I do apologize, and thanks for those who reminded me of the limits on that. And I regret that one of your members has left the meeting. I wanted to say, again, without getting into the substance of any motions, that to circle back to the point of order I made regarding statements by directors regarding the integrity or honesty of their colleagues on the record in a meeting. I do echo and agree with what Arna said when she said, I want to assume good intentions on the part of our board. I think each and every one of you deserves that from your colleagues, irrespective of your differences in beliefs, your different perspectives, your different priorities. I think you're entitled to disagree with one another about virtually anything other than your honesty, your integrity, your dedication to serving the fair. And I think that stuff should be off the table. I do hope that that's addressed at your next work session and in respect to the types of rules of decorum that you all agree upon, and that you will go forward in a way that demonstrates the respect that each of you deserves from all the rest of you. Thanks.
Thanks, LT. John?
Thank you. I thought, given the last few meetings that I went to, this one was relatively smooth. And I would like to echo the point Jenny made about the tools in Zoom for meetings. I understand not wanting to use the chat for certain things, and that's fine, although I would prefer that it wasn't. But I find the not using the raise hand feature that's built into Zoom rather than using the chat to raise hands I'm confused as to why you folks do that. I'm in Zoom meetings all day with many organizations. You're the only ones that do that. Everybody else uses the hand feature, which is actually so much easier for the facilitator, because when one clicks to raise the hand, it goes automatically to the top left of the screen. They're in the queue order of the people that raise the hand, so everybody can see whose hand is next. You don't have to be looking at the chat back and forth between the chat and the squares. And that's what the feature was built for after a lot of user interface testing. And so I'm baffled as to why the chat is used to raise hands. It doesn't make any sense to me. It's rather inefficient compared to the tool that's meant for that use. I do remember hearing Lily very briefly many months ago say that she didn't like the hand feature because she couldn't keep track of the order of the hands, which was baffling because that's exactly what the feature does. So maybe that basic misunderstanding from the very beginning set off this whole use the chat for the hand thing that's been used ever since. But I find it baffling as to why we don't use the hand feature. It's just so much easier to use, especially for the facilitator. You don't have to divide your attention, and we can all see the stacking order very clearly. So I'm just baffled as to why this organization doesn't use that raise hand feature in conducting meetings. Thanks.
Thanks, John. Yeah, the hand feature does work like that. It automatically keeps them in the proper order. I also am not sure why it's not used, but I definitely do still want to keep all kinds of chat out of the Zoom meeting and over in that YouTube meeting where I can't see it, largely because I think it's unfair to allow members to constantly give their input in the middle of discussion amongst the board members by just adding their opinion in the chat like that. I feel like maybe it should be shut down altogether. Jonathan Pincus.
Hi. It looks like, of course, we won't be getting to a couple of fairly important items, at least to the constituencies they apply to. But I presume that because they were on this agenda, there'll be old business by next meeting, even though they did not really get an airing at this meeting. And so I hope that they can be highlighted somewhat on the .net site and in the Fair Family News, so that in a way that gives them a prominent visibility. Because I think there's some detail to them that's worth discussion prior to the meeting. Thanks.
Thanks, Jonathan. Paxton?
I apologize for my in and out at the beginning of the meeting. I ended up having to change computers partway through. I tried doing it on a new computer setup and it kept crashing on me. I do not know why yet, but I will figure it out. Anyway, thank you. Good meeting. I appreciate it. Bye.
Thanks, Paxton. John Alexander.
Al, I just want to thank you. You bring an amazing amount of grace to our meetings and just set a tone that's right. So I appreciate it.
Thank you. AJ.
Yeah, I want to thank the membership that showed up here tonight and that shows up at our meetings every month. Typically, you know, as many of you guys know, I try to be real about how I feel about things and not try to sugarcoat it because it's the end of the meeting. But I want to apologize to the membership yet again, because we continue to be a divided board. And I think there is a lot of work on your behalf that's not being done because of individual personality issues amongst board members that cause us to continue to be a divided board. And I think that is filtering into our committees as well. And it just saddens me. The discussion of having, you know, the idea of believing in that everybody is, all the board members are doing their best or coming with the best intentions. I lost that 2 years ago when the conversation about whether the N-word should be used in our meeting spaces went on for 3 months. It's kind of hard as a Black man in this organization to feel like there's integrity on this board when I've had to deal with some of the things that I've had to deal with. And so while people want to be all rosy about this and act like this is normal, business is normal and all that stuff, it's a bunch of bullshit, to be honest with you. And the divisions keep on happening and things keep on happening. And what's not happening is that your board, the board that you elected, is not functioning and working for you. And that is the bottom line. So when the election comes up next season, remember that. Remember that you've got to have a board that works for you and not for themselves. Point
of order. Is this a meeting evaluation or is this a campaign statement?
So the disrespect, just like
point of order, Chair.
Like you're witnessing right here. Everybody has a chance.
Okay, I've muted them both. Sorry, AJ. The meeting evaluation space is to go over how the meeting went.
Ooh, I don't like this.
I'm not a fan of it either. I don't like muting people. I have avoided doing it for a long time.
That's unbelievable. Unbelievable. So I do I not get to finish what I was saying? Everybody else got to finish.
I would like you to keep it to discussing how this meeting went, which is what this space is for.
How this meeting went was exactly how all of our meetings have been going lately. And I believe that I have, as a board member, I can say these things in this time without being disrupted by other board members. This is exactly what I'm talking about. It's unbelievable. And I cannot believe I was just muted after John interrupted me like that. After all the things that you've seen go on in this meeting, in these meetings, Al, if you've been watching for years and years, the fact that I get muted, crazy.
I muted
Have a good
John at
night.
the same time.
Well, I had the floor. I
AJ,
had the
please
floor.
AJ, please stay till the end.
I had the floor. Al,
I hear you.
the disrespect.
I feel disrespected as well.
But it happens over and over again. And what you're hearing right now is my frustration of this happening over and over and over again. And I have no recourse. That's why it's unbelievable. In the meantime, our membership suffers because dysfunction like this. Have a good night.
AJ, please stay.
Spirit, you're next.
I happen to agree with everything that AJ just said. I'm not going to repeat on that. I believe it was Aaron Kenton at one point who talked about there being time at the end of meetings for there to be discussion, because I think it is important what AJ's sharing, and this is the only time to actually be able to do it, because the membership doesn't understand what's going on behind closed doors unless a board member can share the environment in which they're working on. I have to say, to me, it's not only dysfunctional, but it's really toxic and unhealthy. I'm recovering health-wise from my time. And so I think it is important what he's saying, and we need to be able to have some room. And so that's part of my evaluation to you, Al. I think you did a great job tonight. I know it's very hard. I still would love to see some Robert's Rules of Orders or Roberta's Rules of Orders in place. But one thing I didn't hear tonight in the meeting, and my evaluation would be, I would love to see the board giving a little bit of gratitude to our staff who's doing an amazing, phenomenal job under serious circumstances, with so much change and transition. I have witnessed growth in this organization that has blown my mind, and I'm just so grateful. And so my evaluation is actually thank you, Al, but also to the board. Please recognize and give gratitude to your staff. And also thank you, Linda, and the officers for all you do.
Thank you, Spirit. I don't think I see any further hands.
I think I guess.
Arna?
That was really distressing, having you mute somebody, Al. I understand what happened here, but seeing AJ muted like that was really distressing to me, and I hope that I don't ever see that again. That's all I have to say.
And I'm just following up here. Should I not mute anybody ever?
No, but I think that when AJ is trying to, it is true that there's very little time for board members to express opinions and just talk. And maybe we do need to build that in to meetings time. But AJ was expressing some sincere feelings and opinions. And to have him muted mid-sentence was very disturbing to me. I would feel that way, I think, probably having any board member muted. But it really hit me wrong. And I'm not really blaming you, Al. I'm not upset with you. I don't know how to even explain how bad I felt about that. And I hope we're not in a position of you feeling that you have to do that again. And maybe that's my point. Let's hope that we're not in that position again, where you feel you have to do that. But and I think that there have been times when board members are out of line. AJ is more direct when he speaks this way than some other board members who I also think are out of line when they speak sometimes, but they do it in a different way. But I've never seen anyone else get muted like that, a board member be muted. And I've watched a lot of board meetings. And I don't want to see it again. I guess that's all I can say.
For sure.
So.
And I don't take it as a personal attack. We all make mistakes, and if that was a mistake, I'm happy to own that.
I also think John should not have interrupted him. I think that was part of it. I think John should have just let AJ finish his speaking. And that, I think, is what started you going to mute him, was John interrupting him. So, and I'm not blaming you, Alan. I'm not, don't take it personally.
I'm not going to take it personally.
Good.
I'm fine.
Good.
Yeah, I appreciate all the feedback.
Yeah.
All over the place. I believe Lisa's next.
Yeah, I have a little bit different viewpoint on that. Al, we did pass a board policy that does give the facilitator the authority to control the room. You are the facilitator. If you think something is out of order, then you can deal with it. That is the board policy. And actually, people have been muted in board meetings in the past. I believe that Lily did that a couple of times during some real contentious moments when she wanted to maintain order. So I just wanted to answer that.
Thanks, Lisa. Paxton?
This is just an invite to come to the board listening session in 2 weeks on code of conduct, because this is the kind of discussion that we have been having in our meetings of how we deal with some of this kind of behavior. So this is a perfect lead in to our discussion on the code of conduct working thing, group assembly coming up. Thank you. Please join us.
Thanks, Paxton. I don't see any further hands here. The next board meeting is Monday, June 5th.
Al,
Yeah.
Al, I just got a direct message that was meant for everyone. Jonathan Pincus raised his hand.
Okay, Jonathan.
Yeah, I think when board members are speaking, it's a little bit different than a general discussion with the membership and so forth. Board members were elected by us, and I think within reasonable time amounts, they should make whatever their statement is, whether any of us agree or like it or not. Thanks.
For sure. AJ?
Yeah, I'll stick with this topic, and I will just add, again, in 2 years, I have heard so many personal attacks against myself that weren't muted in these meetings. Again, it really doesn't matter how many people don't want to hear this, but the N-word has been used several times in our public meeting, and those people were not muted. I have been called all kinds of names, and those people haven't been muted. So to have my voice muted here, I take as a big slight in all of this. And I know you haven't been around for a long time, Al, but this is really hurtful, man. This is one of the most hurtful things I've experienced on this board, considering my experiences on this board, is to have my voice shut down after John Silvermoon interrupts it's unbelievable. And it shouldn't be tolerated in this organization that says it wants to be an anti-racist organization. How far are we away? We are so far away.
All right, AJ, thank you for your feedback. You were talking and John Silvermoon was talking at the same time, and I muted both of you, and then you unmuted and I let you finish everything that you wanted to say. I apologize that it has come off this way. It wasn't my intention. It was merely just to stop people talking over each other, refocus,
I had the floor.
And continue.
I had the floor.
Yeah.
So it wasn't people talking over each other. It was somebody talking over me. I had the floor.
You said point of order. You didn't.
LT?
Thanks, Al. I agree with everyone who said that the muting was an inappropriate response, that was not the proper way to handle it, either substantively or by appearance. It was extremely unfortunate. I hope I never see that again either. The problem occurred prior to that. When a director is speaking and another director raises a point of order, the speaker needs to stop speaking. The facilitator needs to inquire as to the point. The facilitator needs to make a decision on the point of order, and then the meeting needs to proceed with the point being granted or the point being denied. So the meeting got out of control when the point of order was not properly addressed. And that if the meetings are properly facilitated, and Al, I think you do a wonderful job. And yes, that was a heated moment, and it's tough. It's not easy facilitating these meetings, as you know. And so again, I understand the emotional spin out that was going on there, but folks have got to agree to abide by basic rules of order. And the facilitator has the job of managing that, but it's the job of every director. When a point of order is raised, I think there's fault to be distributed on all points, because when a point of order is raised, the movement of the point needs to just say point of order, and then they need to stop. And then the facilitator needs to inquire as to the point, and the facilitator needs to make a decision. You all got to just cool out a bit, you know? And on top of that, I will say once again what I said before, you all deserve the assumption of good faith on all the rest of you, and that's not bullshit, no matter what anybody says.
Thanks, LT. Laney? Laney? All right, I'm going to move it along then. Next board meeting is Monday, June 5th, 2023, 7 p.m. via Zoom. There will be no board meeting in July. The Junely board meeting is Sunday, June 25th, 4 to 6 p.m. at Alice's Fire Pit. And we will close with the President's Piece and then the Singing Bowl.
Thanks, Al. I want to first just reiterate what Peter had said. And, I just want to take a moment to thank every one of our amazing, wonderful volunteers, booth people, and performers. I'm continually inspired by the passion and enthusiasm you bring to fair each year, and I'm just very thankful for your involvement in the community. And I want to really thank Linda for her work as a co-treasurer. Not only is she incredibly professional and highly intelligent, but she's incredibly kind, and I just really appreciate her on so many levels. So thank you so very much, Linda. You'll be missed. Thank you, Al.
Thanks. I'll close out with the Singing Bowl.
Thank you, Al. Good night, everybody. Thank you for joining us. See you next time.
Thanks, Al.
Thank you all very much.
Thanks, Al.
Thanks. Good night.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Al.